It's easy for them to do. They're adept at doing a ditty, getting rid of you and not having no handprints on it. Like this is how they traffic. And so you have to really not be scared, not be acting like you not scared. You'd have to really be too stupid to be scared.
Pig parties. That's the dark whisper of Hollywood no one wants to admit is real. Those after-hour invite-only scenes where all rules vanish and people in power allegedly show their dirtiest sides. Forget the red carpet or the fancy premieres. This is where careers get built, destroyed, or bought. K.A. once said the real Hollywood doesn't happen on set. It happens behind locked doors. And now the internet's losing it because David's name just got dragged into this whole twisted rumor. All of it spiraling after what happened with Celeste Riva Hernandez, a 15-year-old girl found unalive in his Tesla. The cause? Still unclear. Her connection to him? Confirmed by friends who swore they thought she was his college girlfriend. Shy, quiet, gentle. That's how people described her. But the streets ain't buying the silence surrounding David. They're saying it's not shyness, it's guilt. Katt's version of events hits hard because in Hollywood, nothing comes free. You want fame, the spotlight, the big label deals. Allegedly, you gotta give something up. And now whispers are saying Celeste's tragedy wasn't random at all, but part of a dark transaction, a so-called sacrifice linked to one of those pig parties. Sounds insane, right? But look at the timing. David went from TikTok nobody to an Interscope artist with millions of streams and a debut album overnight. That's when everything in Celeste's world completely collapsed. She vanished, gone without a trace, reported missing over and over again until one day, she was found in the trunk of his Tesla. But instead of a real investigation, we got half-baked answers. No public statement from David, no solid word from the coroner, just eerie silence.
Now, there are individuals who have looked to clues in his shows or his songs for alleged connections to Celeste, and to be clear, nothing has officially been verified. Here's the thing, even if you look at lyrics from his song Romantic Homicide from back in 2022, this is what seems to be creating the conversation. The lyrics say, I mean, even in the back of my mind, you died. And I didn't even cry. No, not a single tear. But again, nothing remotely to suggest this has anything to do with Celeste.
That's why this story won't die down. Because when Katt Williams said Hollywood's game is filled with rituals, people started connecting dots and remembering the old patterns. Whitney before her comeback, Kanye losing his mom before his big rise, Michael before his tour. It always seems to follow the same script. Big fame, sudden tragedy, whispers of sacrifice. Now it's happening again. And with David in the mix, folks online are saying Celeste wasn't just a random victim. She was the price of entry, the fee to step into those secret rooms Katt keeps warning everybody about. So what even is a pig party? Sounds silly, right? But in Hollywood circles, that name's been floating around for decades. Depending on who you ask, it's part initiation, part humiliation, and part twisted ritual. They say once you're invited, you either play the game or you're blacklisted for life. And no, these ain't your typical champagne and DJ house parties. Pig parties are rumored to go way darker. They're said to be staged as tests, where stars, execs, and desperate up-and-comers are pushed past every limit. Cameras roll, lines are crossed, and people get trapped in situations that can ruin them forever. And why? So the people in charge always have leverage. Because once they've got dirt on you, saying no later isn't an option. Too bad, because rumor has it there's already a tape floating around. And here's the wild part. These stories ain't new at all. Way back, people whispered that Hugh Hefner's mansion wasn't just a luxury playground, it was a dressed-up version of those same pig parties. And Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut? Conspiracy circles swear he was exposing the exact kind of rituals Hollywood tries to bury. Jaguar Wright, Orlando Brown, even Katt Williams, they've all painted chilling pictures of those behind closed doors freak shows where nothing's off limits. In that world, it's not just about scandal, it's about control. Pig parties, as the story goes, are secret initiation tests, places where rising stars allegedly prove loyalty by letting themselves be broken down piece by piece. That's why Katt keeps saying Hollywood doesn't reward talent. It rewards obedience. And if you've ever wondered how someone blows up overnight with no clear reason, the streets claim the answer might be what they left behind at one of those parties. So how does David fit in all this mess?
Charles, any idea who is behind this swatting?
No idea. I mean, we've asked police. They want to try and track those things down when it happens, but they don't know on this one. And they, I think they figured out pretty quickly when David's parents came to the door that that's what was going on here. They didn't see any activity, and the area where their home is in a very rural area. It's not like there's a lot of houses around. So, when police are pulling up, there's no activity. It would have been pretty obvious to them if there was some crisis going on as they pulled up.
Sure, but you can't escape the date, September 18th, and it's a day after the LA house that he was renting was raided. Coincidence or something more?
It does seem strange to say that this is coincidence, and his parents said to the police, somebody is messing with us. And clearly, even if David wasn't at the house, his parents are aware of what's going on back in LA.
Well, here's the theory. Celeste wasn't just some girlfriend. She was allegedly brought into that world. Her fake ID, her sudden access to clubs and industry events even though she was underage. All of it feeds the story that she was being pushed into grown spaces way too fast. It's sickening to think about, but that's the pattern these rumors always highlight. Powerful men, young girls, and a system that hides the damage. If David really was present at one of those secret gatherings, and if Celeste was right there with him, her tragic end starts to feel less like coincidence and more like consequence. And that's exactly why Katt's warning hits so hard, because allegedly, Hollywood doesn't just party, it ritualizes. And once you cross that line, there's no walking out the same again. Now this is where the whispers hit real close to home. David ain't some washed-up star chasing clout. He's that quiet TikTok kid who came out of nowhere, scored a massive label deal, and dropped an album before most people could even pronounce his stage name. To the fans, it looked like a dream come true, a modern-day Cinderella story. But to the gossip world, it looked like a deal with strings attached, a rise that might have come with a price. Then there's Celeste Rivas Hernandez. On paper, she was just a 15-year-old girl who went missing multiple times in 2024 and later turned up unalive in the trunk of David's Tesla. But when you look at the timeline, things start feeling off. Friends swear they saw her with him constantly at clubs, music events, even those invite-only parties that were strictly 18 plus. Everyone assumed she was 19, a college student from USC, but she wasn't. She was allegedly sneaking into grown spaces using fake IDs, and every time David wasn't far behind. That's exactly why people can't shake the sacrifice theory. Katt Williams always said it. Hollywood don't hand out fame for free. You give something up to stay in the spotlight. And in this dark version of the story, Celeste wasn't just a tragedy. She was allegedly the trade-off. Her vanishings, her reappearances, and her final moments all synced perfectly with David's sudden explosion into fame. And here's where it gets even creepier. His breakout hit Romantic Homicide has that chilling lyric, "In the back of my mind, I do." At first, people thought it was just heartbreak poetry. But now, fans are replaying it like a confession, especially with his alter ego, Eat Tommy, a blood-soaked character that suddenly feels less like art and more like a message. Things started slipping fast after that. Even David's old TikTok clip, the one where he joked about chopping chicken if his girl talked to other dudes, is now being replayed as a major red flag. Of course, there's no hard proof. But in Hollywood conspiracy talk, proof isn't the point. Patterns are. And this one? The streets know it too well. A rising star, a sudden tragedy, the team's eerie silence, and a career that keeps climbing while rumors pile up. It's the same haunting rhythm that plays out again and again. So when people say Celeste was David's alleged sacrifice, they're not talking about evidence, they're talking about timing. The chilling overlap between fame and death. The belief that one life was taken so another could rise higher. And if all that really happened at one of those pig parties Katt Williams keeps warning about, then Celeste's passing starts looking less like an accident and more like an initiation. Allegedly. What keeps this theory alive is how familiar it feels, because it doesn't exist in isolation. Hollywood's full of stories where stars supposedly had to give something up before hitting their peak. Take Whitney Houston. People still whisper about how she passed the same weekend Clive Davis hosted his iconic pre-Grammy bash. Her body was found upstairs, while executives kept partying below. And just a few years later, her daughter Bobby Christina died in eerily similar circumstances. Conspiracy watchers call it a double sacrifice, a generational price to keep the machine running. Then you've got Kanye West. He said it himself that his mother Donda was his sacrifice. Whether you believe it or not, the timeline fits too neatly. Right after her death, his career exploded from chart topper to global mogul. Katt Williams often points to Kanye as proof that even insiders admit Hollywood's game is anything but clean. And let's not forget, officially, her death was called a tragic plane crash back in 2001, but plenty still whisper about the shady parts of that story. Rumors say the pilot was pressured to overload the plane despite warnings, and that her fame had become too big to control. Each of these names adds another shadow to the same narrative. Fame rising while something or someone falls. Right before Aaliyah passed, her tragedy locked in her legacy and left a lane wide open for others to rise. Even Michael Jackson fits that same chilling pattern. His sudden death in 2009 hit just before a massive comeback tour that was set to move billions. The official cause was ruled a propofol overdose, homicide, but the conspiracy crowd sees it differently. They say he was becoming too powerful, too independent, too free from the system, and that the system doesn't like losing control. And then there's the infamous party culture, Diddy's so-called freak-off gatherings. For years, they've been painted as the same kind of secret testing grounds where stars get compromised and then controlled. Jaguar Wright swore up and down in interviews that half the industry was owned because of what went down at those events. And now that term, pig party, it's starting to sound like the updated, darker label for the same old thing. So when people hear that David was constantly spotted with Celeste at clubs, behind VIP ropes, in places she shouldn't have even been at her age, it makes the whole thing feel like history repeating itself. Another young star caught in tragedy. Another round of silence from the team. Another wave of whispers about ritualistic roots. The parallels are what keep people talking, because if it happened before, with Whitney, Aaliyah, Kanye's mom, and Michael, who's to say it can't happen again? Allegedly, Hollywood doesn't create new scandals, it just recycles them. And some believe Celeste may have become the latest name added to that dark, legendary list. At the end of the day, what keeps this story alive isn't just Celeste's heartbreak or David's sudden rise. It's the feeling of déjà vu. Another young life gone too soon. Another artist elevated overnight. Another moment where Hollywood's ugliest whispers line up just a little too perfectly with the headlines. Allegedly, Katt Williams has been saying it for years. In this game, talent ain't the currency. Obedience is. And if you don't pay the toll, you don't make it through the door. Whether you see Katt Williams as a truth teller or just a chaos magnet, his warning suddenly hits way different after the Celeste situation. It doesn't sound like comedy anymore. It sounds like prophecy. And the silence coming from David? That's the loudest part of this entire story. No posts, no statements, no explanations. He canceled his tour, ended his lease, and just vanished. To some fans, that looks like heartbreak. But to the gossip world, it looks like guilt. If he's really innocent, why not speak up? If Celeste's death was just a tragedy, why not clear the air? Every day he stays quiet. Those whispers grow sharper and louder. Meanwhile, Celeste's story feels heavier with each new theory. She was only 15, reported missing multiple times, yet allegedly walking through clubs and music events like a college student with her whole future ahead of her. Instead, she became another haunting Hollywood story, a young girl swallowed by the system and remembered more in conspiracy threads than in real memorials. That's the part that hurts most. And then there's Hollywood itself, the land where rumors never die. These pig party whispers, they're not fading, they're spreading. Celeste's story just poured gasoline on the fire. People already side-eyed Diddy's infamous gatherings, already believe Jaguar Wright's jaw-dropping confessions, and still quote Kanye's eerie words about Donda. And now, a 15-year-old found in a Tesla, linked to a rising star? That headline alone makes every old rumor sound brand new again. So what happens next? Maybe nothing. Maybe the story fades like all the others before it. Or maybe someone else steps forward. Another insider with nothing to lose. Another voice like Katt Williams, ready to risk everything to tell the stories Hollywood wants buried for good. Because here's the real irony. The more Hollywood stays silent, the louder those whispers become. And right now, those whispers are saying something chilling, that Celeste wasn't just a victim, she was allegedly a sacrifice. And if that's even half true, then David's career ain't the start of a fairy tale. It's the beginning of a curse. So what do you think really went down? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.